We are here for a game week 4 team selection. The questions this week are: is JOAO Pedro going to start on Saturday? Can I survive another week without Erling Haaland? And is Salah my best captaincy option this game week? Let's jump into another Fantasy Premier League video. It feels like it's been a while since I've recorded one of these videos because of the international break, but we are back for game week 4 and we're going to start with David Raya in goals. Tottenham away from home. How do I feel about the fixture? How do I feel about the player David Raya? Well, I'm just not expecting much from this fixture. I have to be really honest. I'm really not, because the situation at Arsenal, Rice isn't going to be playing. Odegaard is very unlikely to play. It's a slightly weaker Arsenal side. I'm not saying that a slightly weaker Arsenal side is a bad side at all. I do think a weaker Arsenal side would still challenge for the league. I think their systems of play are just absolutely fantastic at the end of the day. But I do think Spurs will get something out of this game. I just really think they will. Arsenal haven't been exactly firing all cylinders from the start of the season, so there are a few worries in that regard, but sort of David Raya has been a really consistent good player, getting good saves and sort of saving the team at times. Of course, that Aston Villa game pops out straight away with those two amazing saves he made against Watkins. So yeah, I'm not expecting much from this game. A clean sheet, in my eyes, is very unlikely, but of course my second keeper on the bench there, Ramsdale, with the Man United at home fixture, I would say the exact same thing. I'm not expecting a clean sheet there whatsoever, but David Raya does have a small chance of a clean sheet, and I'm hoping that save points at least will tie him over above the minimum threshold for just a 90 minutes point total. So yeah, fingers crossed with that. Of course, I'm not expecting much, but if something comes from it, amazing. We'll move on to Trent. Interestingly enough, I think Liverpool can be regarded as one of the best defences in the league at the moment. I suppose if we look at the table at the moment and we kind of highlight sort of this stat here, goals against, 0. They haven't conceded a goal just yet this Premier League season. They do look a solid defence. There are times where they've looked a little bit leaky, a few mistakes here and there, but they haven't been punished for that just yet. And I think they will do in the future. But for now, I think Trent at 7 million is probably my favourite defender in FPL, alongside Rico Lewis, who we'll get on just in a minute now. But yeah, I really do like Trent. 2 home fixtures in the next 2 weeks. Forest this week. People have been, tinkering with the idea of captaining Trent this week. For me, I wouldn't do it this week. I think coming off in the 75th minute sometimes, Trent, it's not really something you want in a captain. But yeah, really, really, really liking Trent at the moment. We'll sort of move on to Dunk right next to him. Great fixture. Again, home to newly promoted Ipswich. I do think Ipswich have the ability to score in this game, but the fixture's there for Brighton. Brighton are playing really good football at the moment. Look strong against Arsenal defensively at times, so there's always that to say, because Arsenal are one of the better teams in the league. So yeah, I'm hoping that they don't make any silly mistakes and concede a goal and a clean sheet kind of comes through for Lewis Dunk, because of course Lewis Dunk isn't really known for his attack and returns, although he can give a good bullet header on the occasion. Yeah, Dunk I think is a great pick. For the price he is, I really do like Brighton's fixtures for the next few weeks. So yeah, really, really liking Lewis Dunk there. We'll move on to Rico Lewis, who is just next to him there. Brentford at home. And I think what I kind of want to show you here is sort of the stat that I really, really, really love about Rico Lewis. So it just says stat here. If I click on this page, it'll tell you touches, total touches in the opposition penalty area. It's coming up on my screen there. You might not, but you'll see it on your screen. But 6 total. Obviously, if you look down here, there's obviously a lot less sort of touches in that final penalty box area for the other defenders. Rico Lewis with a solid amount of touches there for a defender. So yeah, I really do like that stat. He's obviously in positions which are really, really advanced, and I'm hoping maybe a goal can come for Rico Lewis soon. I feel like that's on the cards for Rico Lewis. He does this thing where he pulls sort of really high on the pitch and then pulls quite central as someone like Guardiola or Bernardo Silva goes to the left-hand side byline. And there's a lot of times the ball can be cut back from the likes of Haaland, Bernardo Silva on that left-hand side for Lewis to have a great opportunity to score a goal. And he occupies those spaces all the time. Even when he gets frustrated, he kind of still remains in those positions. And I really, really, really do like that for Rico Lewis. it's just always going to be the case where we're like, well, is Kyle Walker going to start this week? Is Kyle Walker going to come and steal minutes off Rico Lewis? I think if you own Rico Lewis, you've just got to ride the train as long as possible. I think there's a lot of upside in a Rico Lewis move, and for me, keeping him until there's a real issue with minutes is probably my idea at the moment. So yeah, overall with the defence, I suppose we'll cover the bench quickly because there is a decent option on the bench there. Nedeljkovic, I wouldn't say is a decent option, of course. Didn't play in his last fixture. Maybe we'll see, obviously with Konsa, maybe possibly being out this week, that Nedeljkovic goes at that right-back position. Maybe someone else fills in somewhere else. I highly doubt it, though. I don't think maybe Emery's system is going to accommodate for Nedeljkovic. We did think that at the start, but now I would kind of doubt that. Robinson, of course, with the West Ham at home fixture on the bench as well. I just don't see him keeping a clean sheet in that fixture. I don't really see him doing too much going forward. West Ham are okay defensively, so yeah, I suppose that's the only thing I would say about Robinson. But overall, the defence I'm really happy with. Maybe I would change the goalkeeper, but I feel like if you're doing a transfer on your goalkeeper, you're kind of doing FPL wrong. I don't think there's a lot of upside in goalkeeper transfers at all, and kind of David Raya is a long-term pick in my head. But yeah, overall pretty decent defence, I would say. Moving up to the midfield, we're going to start with Morgan Rogers. Now, Everton at home is a fantastic fixture, and of course, Morgan Rogers did score a penalty for the under-21s England side in the international break, which obviously made FPL Twitter go crazy that he's the penalty taker for Aston Villa now. I just don't think that's the case. You've got Tielemans, you've got John McGinn who can take penalties, probably going to get priority over Morgan Rogers. Perhaps in the future we'll see Morgan Rogers take penalties for Aston Villa, but yeah, I don't necessarily think that's going to happen anytime soon. If it does, and he proves me wrong, I'll be a happy man because I will have a cheap Aston Villa asset who's on penalties. You can't go wrong with that. But we'll move over to Bukayo Saka. Sort of more of an interesting sort of conversation I have about Saka this week, because I kind of knew having Saka that these two fixtures coming up are going to be difficult. Tottenham away, City away. Probably some of the harder fixtures you're going to face in the season, especially for Arsenal. Arsenal versus Tottenham, it's sort of 50-50 split possession-wise normally. Spurs do tend to have a little bit more of the ball, sort of in the last two fixtures at least. That's what has happened under Postecoglou for Spurs, of course. So with sort of Rice being suspended, with Odegaard possibly being out for around 3 weeks, it seems, I think Arsenal will struggle to keep a hold of the ball and kind of progress it forward as well as they normally do. Obviously, it's Arsenal. They have completely got the ability to do so, but I think it's going to be sort of a less threatening Arsenal side than normal. And I think that's because Odegaard simply just won't be playing, and obviously Rice isn't there to be that anchor that he is. Saka on penalties against Tottenham, there's always a great chance of a penalty in a derby, I feel, especially against a Spurs side who have Christian Romero and have players like Udogie who have a little bit of a temperament issue and do have sort of, not necessarily spouts of anger, but they have little surges of aggression which don't often result in good outcomes. Romero obviously famous for his many red cards in the Premier League, but yeah, there's always a great opportunity for Saka to be involved sort of in the Arsenal attack, and I think it is sort of an interesting week for Saka. If he does well this game week, sort of playing him against City won't feel sort of as bad, but I'm not expecting too much from Saka this week. I would be happy for at least one return against Spurs, because I do think both teams will score that week. But let's move on to some of the more exciting picks in the team. You've got Erebici Eze with a Leicester at home fixture. Fantastic fixture. I think maybe Palace are starting to find the feet now in the Premier League with sort of some new additions, and sort of Elise leaving the squad is a big hit. So yeah, maybe they'll find the feet a little bit in this fixture. Sort of a newly promoted side at home. You've got some new additions who probably will start this game week. So yeah, I am looking really forward to watching Eze against Leicester this week. I don't necessarily think it's a captaincy option. We'll move on to the captain just next to him, Mo Salah. Unbelievable start to the season. Absolutely outstanding player. Forest at home. He's just my captain. I don't think anyone else can tempt me in my team at the moment. The sort of, you'll see in the forward line who else I might be tempted by, but for me, Salah probably is the one I'll be locking in very early for my captain. I do believe on the day of the game week 3 deadline, the game week 3 ending, I captained Salah straight away, and I haven't moved it whatsoever. I just don't think I will. Great pick. I absolutely love Salah. I think he's a fantastic FPL asset, and as a footballer, he's just incredible. Hopefully his form can just continue under Schlott, and obviously with it being his last year at Liverpool, he just really goes for as many records as he can, and can really just bring as many attacking returns to my squad as possible. But yeah, I really like Mohamed Salah this week. Palmer against Bournemouth away from home. Bournemouth obviously playing okay recently, sort of scraping that win against Everton in their last fixture. Sort of Bournemouth attacking pretty well as well, so obviously no Chelsea defenders in my team. I kind of thought about that on my wildcard 3. Do I want a Chelsea defender? I was kind of like, well, not particularly, but I did want a Cole Palmer in my team, and I think if we're looking at minutes and expected minutes for Chelsea assets, Cole Palmer's definitely top of the list. I think he's such a valuable player for Chelsea. He really links up play so well. I think other Chelsea assets, look, I think minutes are going to be shared just way too much between, and I'm not really interested in anyone else at the moment. Of course, if Madueke keeps getting good minutes for Chelsea on that right-hand side, he's going to be a really interesting pick going forward, but for me, I wouldn't touch him at the moment. Palmer, for me, is obviously the best Chelsea asset, and he will continue to stay in my team for the long run, I would say, obviously on penalties as well. So yeah, across the midfield, 5 midfielders looking really, strong going into game week 4. I suppose the only weakness there is Saka's fixture, but he can definitely do something against Spurs. I know he can, but yeah, I'm just sort of worried about how Arsenal will do against Spurs. Speaking about the 2 forwards of the squad now, we've got Ollie Watkins and JOAO Pedro. We're going to quickly touch upon Ollie Watkins first because I want to spend a little bit longer talking about JOAO Pedro. Of course, 800,000 FPL managers have brought JOAO Pedro in already, but let's quickly touch upon Ollie Watkins. Similar boat to, obviously, Morgan Rogers there. Great fixtures coming up, but for me, look, Ollie Watkins' minutes aren't amazing. The sort of reliability in terms of an SPL asset that I want isn't quite there yet, and it's because simply his finishing hasn't been there. It really hasn't. I think he should have had a hat-trick against Arsenal. There were great chances in his last fixture that, in my opinion, he should have put away, but look, what can you do? It's now done, and we can kind of just assess how we get on for Everton at home. I'm really hoping that he at least scores 1 so he can get his confidence a little bit up. I think that's maybe what he's missing in his game at the moment. Of course, we did see in game week 1 he was nursing slightly something, but we didn't quite know what it was. But hopefully going forward, and especially in this fixture, he can start putting these chances away for Aston Villa, because I think if they do, Aston Villa will start to become a really great team. Of course, they look amazing at the moment, but I think they're sort of just finishing that one thing, obviously that being finishing from their forwards. So, of course, Amadou Onana's having to do a lot of the scoring lately, which isn't a great sign, but maybe if you own Amadou Onana, you're very happy with that, but as a Watkins owner, I'm not quite happy. So we'll move on, though, to JOAO Pedro. Of course, 800,000 people have brought this man in for game week 4, and I think we've simply just got to talk about his situation and kind of lay out everything we know in sort of where we go from now, because obviously you can see in my team he is starting in my side. I do think he will start at the weekend. I think, look, this quote has came out today, and for me it's quite positive because Brighton has mentioned, look, we have a great medical department. The players are professional enough to know, how to keep themselves fit for Saturday. There was a statement that says, look, they can't train today. They can train tomorrow and then, of course, be part of the squad. So, sort of quite positive overall. And, look, other players have been away on international duty as well. A lot of players in the same boat. JOAO Pedro, of course, playing last. Coming back probably the latest as well. He's probably resting completely today, ready for the next day, and, of course, hopefully ready for Saturday. I think it'll be a really great sort of pick this week. If he does start, I'm just hoping that his minutes are good. It's sort of a worry that maybe, he starts and then comes off quite early because sort of, fitness issue. You just never know with these things. But I think, look, his minutes weren't amazing for Brazil, so I think possibly chucking him straight in from Hertzler's point of view isn't a bad shout. Obviously playing amazing for Brighton at the moment, and sort of a player that always looks to be in space and holds amazing positions, similar to sort of positions that Rico Lewis is holding it, which is absolutely crazy to say because Rico Lewis is a defender, but sort of finding spaces on the edge of the box, inside the box as well, where, the opportunity to pass to him is there, but maybe the balls aren't quite getting to him. But Welbeck, again, another great option for Brighton up top, but for me, JOAO Pedro this week, I will be starting him. I think I'm willing to take the risk. If he doesn't start, then it's not the end of the world. Maybe he comes on for half an hour and still does well against sort of a newly promoted Ipswich side. But yeah, I will be starting probably JOAO Pedro this week, unless we get more information closer to the deadline. For me, this is the team now. Of course, we've covered it, but Salah captain. I think overall, I am pretty overall happy with the squad. I suppose it's maybe the Arsenal assets put me off, but I'm really looking towards, game week 6 to be getting really excited about those assets again. 94% team rating from Fantasy Football Hub. You've got money in the bank there. I'm 38,000th in the world. I'm hoping to maybe get a green arrow this week. I think my team's definitely strong enough to be able to do that. Sort of the only issue, not having Haaland. Can Brentford, keep him quiet? I'm just not too sure about that. He more than likely will just go ahead and score another hat-trick and just be an absolute monster again. But yeah, I'm just hoping Brentford can keep him out a little bit. But yeah, overall, pretty decent team. Happy with how we're going into game week 4. Yeah. Just to outro the video, I always like to say a big thank you to you guys at home for watching today's video. And if you have enjoyed today's video and you aren't subscribed just yet, please do consider hitting that subscribe button on the channel. You're going to get weekly FPL content from myself and, of course, a deadline stream every single week when possible. But that is everything for today's video. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.